Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. Today, we're discussing a true sea monster. It's the Panerai Mare Nostrum Titanium PAM 603, a 2015 limited edition of 150 pieces, 52 millimeters in titanium. You can see this extraordinary Minerva-powered Panerai Mare Nostrum tribute timepiece on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right-hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full sales listing for this watch with additional accessories included in the sale, high-resolution images for your desktop, and naturally, complete pricing details for this and our entire collection of pre-owned Panerai timepieces. There are two threads of thought, or at least I should say two threads of history regarding the origin of this design. The first is canonical. It's what Panerai bills. It's 1942-1943. Panerai, at the height of World War II, rolled out a deck chronograph for officers of Italian Navy vessels to use on the bridge. Now that's the first. The second is revisionist history, late of Instagram and online fora, in which amateur historians of considerable accomplishment have claimed that the watch is actually based on a prototype built during the 1950s. Whichever story you happen to believe, the bottom line is that the watch draws directly on the imagery of Panerai's peak military supply years, when it was an integral part of Italian Navy equipment supply and innovating in the field of tactical timepieces and instruments. So a real thread of history, regardless of era, channeled into a 52 millimeter case that's true to history both in its size and its details. And the watch can be worn, but never with a sort of routine elegance or proportion that you would expect from, for example, the 40 millimeter Mare Nostrums of the modern era. The watch is so true to history that it's designed to be an unavoidable sight on the wrist. You can read it at a glance. Mission accomplished. Tactical gear should be that way. I will say, however, that 52 millimeters across the round of the case, not including crown, not including chronograph pushers, and remarkably, and this may be the broadest lug spacing I've ever measured, 65.5 millimeters across the wrist. There is no wrist, with the possible exception of Sly himself and maybe Arnold, able to accommodate this watch without substantial lug overlap. So just rest assured, like an IWC Big Pilot, only more so, oversized is the look. And if you happen to own a PAM 341, you've got to own one of these. Now the lug spacing is, as you may have expected, enormous, as it takes a 27 millimeter strap, and you'll note the factory unit is a 27 millimeter spaced Ponte Vecchio, so it is sheer cut, and with rusticated sides you can easily see the layers of the double fold construction. There is a simulated patina coloration to the contrasting stitch. It perfectly matches the ecru colored printing and luminova of the dial. On the underside, more calfskin. It's a very supple and soft strap. Although brand new, it has the feel of a broken-in unit, almost like a catcher's mitt used over innumerable cycles behind the plate. Oversized trapezoidal pin buckle, satin finished in titanium to match the case. Naturally, the case is exactly, and I mean millimetrically and in almost every detail, what you would have experienced had you purchased the 99-piece limited edition PAM 300. The critical distinctions are the coloration of the dial in the hands, the fact that this is a titanium watch, that was a steel watch, the number made, 150 here, 99 for the PAM 300, and the case back, which in this case is solid, and on the steel PAM 300 was a display case back. I will say, however, that since this is a 12 3/4 lean movement, the case is immensely larger than the caliber, so some might be comfortable with the idea of a solid case back in this particular application. It also helps the watch to be just a little bit slimmer in profile, as it's only 13.3 millimeters thick, remarkably flat for a watch as broad as it is. Now the case is all of satin finish, and you'll note that it is not a Luminor, it is not a Radiomir, it is not a 1940, it is not a 1950. The shape is all the Mare Nostrum's own, which is to say, quite unusual, as almost every Panerai case, excepting the Mare Nostrum and the Ferraris, is built along a standardized template, one of the four, 1940, 1950 wire lug rad or Betterini case Luminor. This is completely distinct, and you'll note that the strap is fixed with screws. Very robust, also reassuring, as you absolutely know that there is zero chance of separation of a spring bar from this particular set of lugs. That's peace of mind on the wrist if you do choose to use your watch. And the watch is a fun one to use because it's an event on the wrist. This is like wearing Avengers Infinity War on your arm full time. People will ask questions and it will elicit smiles and even chuckles. Good-natured chuckles, because this is a lovable watch. And it's a lovable dial. As you can see, it has a tobacco coloration to it. Call it a tropical brown, but the original PAM 300 had a black dial. You'll also know here that the syringe-style hands are luminescent and that they are rose gold as compared to the blued steel of the PAM 300. Now you'll note there is a little bit of sandwich profiling to the quarter Arabics, and there will be a lume shot at the end of this video so you can get the most of this watch night and day. There's a beautiful counterweighted rose gold seconds hand, and when you have a big slow beating movement like this watch does, we can get close now since we're done with wrist shots, but when you have a big slow beating movement like this, 2.5 hertz or 18,000 vibrations per hour, the longer the chronograph seconds hand becomes, the bigger its individual jumps. So it seems to be hopping and scotching across the dial in a fashion that is wonderfully and delightfully anachronistic. I adore that. Now, it is a very crisp column wheel Minerva caliber. 1322 meaning roughly 13 lean in size, an old French measurement from the days when Paris watchmakers led the world, and 22 means that 1922 was the year Minerva started work on that movement. The reset is incredibly crisp. This is one of the sharper and, if I dare say, more mechanical feeling column wheel movements I've experienced. Manual wind with a 55-hour power reserve. It pivots on 23 joules. Although the watch does have a robust screwed-in caseback and a screw-down crown, which, for good measure, reads Mare Nostrum on its cap, it is a 30-meter water-resistant case, so there are better choices for an aquatic Panerai, but few better choices to make an absolute slammin' statement. You'll note it's a simple concentric satin circular grain to the caseback itself. The crown is a pleasure to wind. It's important to note that any manual wind watch can be made or broken by the tactile sensation of winding. It's just like a dive bezel on a dive watch. It's really the make or break feature from an interaction standpoint. This watch is an absolute pleasure to wind, and the chronograph likewise. You also note that the watch has a little bit of an unfinished prototype look, especially about the chronograph pushers, and that is a direct consequence of the prototype quite literally being the inspiration for this watch. The Mare Nostrum historically was something that never quite made it to production. It was never quite realized. Its potential essentially untapped until the modern era. Fully channeling the potential of the historic Panerai Officer's Deck watch, you can now wear the realization of a dream spanning decades. See it and own it on our website. Giants move in the darkness. A true monster of the night. You can see and you can purchase this Panerai Mare Nostrum Titanium PAM 603 limited edition on our website.